Hello everyone, this is PamelaTopjian, and today's video is a little bit different. I just got off of a video call with the creator of a mental health blog called Life with Charli, and that's Charli. And I will put all their links below. There is Facebook, Life with Charli. They are on X/Twitter. They are on Instagram, Charli Dee. And the handle is the real Charli _1. And again, that's Charli. And they're on Pinterest, Charli D1, no underscore on Pinterest. So I'll put all of their links below. Once they write up the blog that highlights my experience, I'll put that link below as well. They were featured on Tiny Buddha. If you know of that platform, then that was a real honor for Charli. And we had a lovely conversation. We did it through video chat. I was on camera, they were not, which is totally fine. So just so you know ahead of time, not to be surprised by that. But I just wanted to share it here. I asked permission if I could share it here. I did edit out some of the, logistics talk or things that we repeated ourselves or we got kind of off track and we're laughing a bit and stuff. So I edited out some, but yeah, so I just want you to know what's coming up. And this is a mental health blog that I was invited to be a part of, and I am completely honored and I want you to check it out. So thanks for being here, and I hope that you enjoy this interview.
Okay, so are you ready?
I am.
I'm so excited.
I don't know if you want me to kind of just read what I wrote as far as answering, and then you can ask from there if it's not clear or if there's something else. I mean, it's totally fine to go beyond what I wrote as my answers.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about your current marriage. How did you find the courage and trust to find love again after your abusive past relationships? And
Yeah.
yeah. So, and that's a very good question. Because
Yes.
I always said, I'll never marry again. I'll never marry again. And I wasn't even dating like for a relationship. So what I had
But
answered was, yeah,
before we start,
yeah.
let's introduce ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that should be okay. So hi everyone. Welcome to our platform. Welcome to Life with Charli. And my name is Charli Dee. And for those who are on the platform for the first time, if you don't know, I am a mental health advocate.
Yep.
And I speak a lot about my experience with mental health. And we have a special guest with us today who I'm very excited to have. Her name is PamelaTopjian, and she is a mental health advocate as well as a holistic health advocate. And she has a platform as well on YouTube. We will link her platform, her YouTube channel, in the description on this blog post.
Great, great. Thank
And
you.
no problem. And she is a writer of 2 memoirs. She is a writer of 2 memoirs. The memoirs are called I Didn't Come This Far to Only Come This Far. And her next memoir is, what's the name of your next memoir?
It's Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Scrubs, One Nurse's Journey.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So the first question, yes, you're about to answer the first question.
Yeah. So what I had written out was I wouldn't have been able to without going through therapy first. I had to look
Right.
at what I learned from my past and knowing how I got to that point in my life with the first two marriages, and then looking at what I would do differently. This is kind of one of the things we went through in therapy is like, okay, this situation with this past relationship, what would you do differently now? Or what are some red flags that you maybe missed or ignored at that time? So learning from the past relationships is what helped me to be in a healthier relationship now. Um, and then, gaining self-respect and learning what is acceptable and having like healthy boundaries as well. Being able to say no to whatever doesn't feel right for me or whatever feels disrespectful or doesn't feel safe, you know? So that's really through therapy is the main answer. You know, I would not have been able to be in a healthy relationship now without going through therapy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely understand that.
Hmm.
And how did therapy help you to love yourself and find love in the person that and trust that person with
Yeah, it
your
was
love?
it was just through connecting the dots and through understanding how I got to that place in my life. You know, how I got to the place, because going through therapy was during a mental breakdown, which, you know, we touch on later in these questions as well.
Yeah,
But I was at the lowest I've ever been, right? So then you learn to connect the dots and connect those puzzle pieces and figure out how did I get to this low point from where I came from? How did I get here? And then being able to understand all that really helped to not feel, you know, it really helped to gain self-confidence. And talking about what you've learned from it all makes you trust yourself a little bit more again. It's like, oh, okay. Because, you know, so many people will say, oh, my picker is broken, you know, if they keep having bad relationships one after the other. But what they don't understand is that can be sort of fixed, you know, that's not
right,
the best term in mental health to use the term fixed, but when people say my picker is broken, quote unquote, then you can fix that picker really, you know, by learning from the past mistakes rather than just saying, oh, this terrible thing happened, oh, this terrible thing happened, and looking at it as what did I learn from that? What was good that came out from that? What would I do differently now? Or what was, you know, what was good out of that, but also what was not acceptable from that? What was a point that was like, this was too much? This was unacceptable. So learning from those things really makes a big difference.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I get that. Like not knowing what to accept and what you shouldn't accept in a
Yeah.
relationship. Learning about that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So I don't know if you want me to keep going down through the paper or
Okay, yes. Let's go to the second question. The
okay.
third question.
So you had sent me, tell me about the title of your first memoir. I didn't come this far to only come this far. And what made you give your book this title? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, when I first went through therapy during that mental breakdown, I felt like I had climbed out of a very deep, dark hole. And so I really couldn't just do everything that it took to claw myself out of that deep, dark hole and then just sit on the edge of that cliff. You know what I mean? Like I didn't come all the way through that to just be here at this place, you know, on the
Right.
edge of it and not move forward. So I had to like move away from it. I couldn't have just made it through all that I did, all those suicidal thoughts and, you know, all the work that I had done for healing. I couldn't just get there and be like, okay, okay, you know, now I feel better. I'm just going to sit here on the edge of this cliff and look down at that deep, dark hole and be like, oh, I made it. You know, it's like you have to for me anyway, I felt like you had to keep going, like to make my life purposeful, to,
Right.
you know, you know, I might not have made it. So I did make it. So there has to be a reason. So I didn't come all that way, didn't come this far to only come this far, you know? So that's how I came
Love
up with the title.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
Thank you.
that.
So the next question. And stop me if you ever want to add more or ask more. Um, this is a little different for me the way, but that's okay. Um, so what moment or breakthrough during your solo cross-country trip made you say, I didn't come this far to only come this far?
Yeah.
So my answer was that I don't feel like I was really feeling that way at the time. Really, that was after therapy, like I just explained, which was after the bus ride. But just the fact that I was still alive after having a plan for suicide, I had to just hang on to hope. So just the fact that I didn't carry out that plan and I got on that bus and I was going for like a last ditch effort, trying to move far away for a fresh start, whatever. Um, the same kind of thing. I'm not still here for no reason, you know? So it's just really
Absolutely.
holding on to hope. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I like that. I think a lot of times we find that moment where we think, okay, I just feel like I want to keep going, like you said before. I want to keep pushing forward. There's up, an
Yeah.
upward motion. And sometimes it takes that moment for us to find that breakthrough.
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, they talk about rock bottom. It's usually with like alcoholism or drug addiction or something, but
Right.
you can totally hit rock bottom in other ways.
Mm.
Even not having to do with any kind of substance abuse or anything, but just your own trauma can make you drop down to that rock bottom place to where you're anxious and depressed and suicidal and unable to function even. That can be your rock bottom that you have to decide at that point, am I going to stay under this rock or
Yes,
try to get out of it. So yeah.
absolutely. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. So the next one, writing a memoir takes incredible vulnerability. Did you find the 5-year process of writing your story to be triggering? Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. It felt really important to do though. So honestly, I knew that it was healing. It was cathartic, writing it all out. And I started writing it out as a journal as I was going through therapy. I was writing as a journal to help myself connect those dots and put those puzzle pieces together. So that was the reason I was writing it. But then later decided I was going to publish it and turn it into a memoir. So yeah, during the time of writing it, I was having flashbacks, and I hadn't had like flashbacks before, flashbacks of abuse. I was having
Oh,
nightmares, but yeah,
wow.
just understanding how I got to those points in life, and like I said, connecting the dots and putting the puzzle pieces together, and it felt, you know, being able to get it out of me, to like write it down and get all those words and get all those experiences out of me and down out on paper, um, was really healing. And so it was triggering, but I knew that it was one of the hurdles that you had to go through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Really interesting. When was the time that you decided, what particularly made you decide, I want people to know about my journey, about this,
Yeah,
and
so
to
I
publish it?
I was reading other memoirs during the time I was in therapy, and I was writing my journal. And I was reading memoirs of other women who had made it out of difficult situations, a lot of them much more horrific than what I had been through. But I know that so many women, so many people have been through the same kinds of things that I have. I mean, nobody has the exact same lives or stories, but people go through similar things. And so I knew that there was plenty of women, too many women, who had been through similar situations that I had been through. And so I thought, as I was reading these other ones, it helped me to realize, oh, if they can get out of that horrific situation to go on to live their life and love their life and not just survive, but to thrive, if they can do it, why not me? So I felt like my story might be helpful to someone too, because a lot of those stories, as I was talking about before, a lot of those stories are people who had been through addiction or substance abuse or something, that might be a little bit different than my story, and things that we hear more about those kinds of stories, or people who have been through really, really horrific things that people can't
Right.
even imagine, like child trafficking and stuff like that, or cult abuse and just like really, really horrific things, or even a lot of physical and sexual abuse and stuff throughout their whole childhoods, like so really, really horrific things, and they
Right.
had to get out of it. So I felt like my story was a little more relatable to a lot of people. I just thought, oh, my story might help somebody too. So, yeah.
Amazing. And to piggyback off of our other questions,
Yeah.
I know that it's amazing that you were inspired by other stories.
Yeah.
I know that made me, for me personally, I know that made me want to receive help, and that made me also want to share my journey too.
Mm-hmm.
So, for you, when you started receiving help,
Yeah.
did others inspire you to also receive help?
Um, I wouldn't say that others did. So I started therapy um, because I had went to the doctor. So I was a nurse at the time and I was thinking more medical and I thought, well, I can't sleep and I have so much anxiety and I was going to the doctor for something to help me sleep because that just makes everything worse if you're not sleeping. And I was having nightmares and stuff too when I did fall asleep. So even the act of trying to fall asleep was causing anxiety because I had so many bad nightmares during the night if I
Oh,
did
wow.
sleep. So I went to the doctor, and it was the doctor who said, yes, I'll give you some medication, but I want to also have you go to therapy. So, yeah, so it was really the doctor. I didn't have people in my life encouraging me to go through therapy, but it was the doctor.
And when the
Yeah.
doctor told you to go to tell you you should go to therapy, what was your response? Hesitant to go to therapy?
Well, at the time, and this is so funny, but like at the time, I thought I didn't know why I was having this reaction. So I had just had a second divorce from
Oh,
an abusive marriage. And when I divorced him, I thought, and this is just before the mental breakdown, when I divorced him, I thought, oh my gosh, everything's going to be wonderful now. You know what I mean? I was just so excited to not have that in my life anymore and
right.
to like be on my own. But then everything from my childhood and my whole life just came crashing down on me, and I spiraled downward. But at the time, I didn't realize it. When I was at the doctor's office, I did not realize what was causing all of this. And I thought, what am I going to say to a therapist? I can't get over my second divorce, even though I'm the one who divorced, and even though it was abusive and I wanted out and I needed out. Why am I? It wasn't the person. I wasn't like missing him. It wasn't like that. It was just like I felt I was fearful all the time. And I felt like one of the reasons I moved far is because I thought it was partially because I didn't know if I would see him like at the grocery store or he would show up at my job or, just because he didn't know where I had moved, but I didn't know if he stayed in the same town. So I was always fearful and I thought that that was the reason. So when it continued after I moved, halfway across the country, I was so confused as to why this was happening. So when I went to when the doctor told me that, I thought, what am I going to say to the therapist? You know, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to say, but I mean, if you think so. And to be honest with you, the doctor really wanted me to go into a facility. And I mean, you wouldn't recognize me. I mean, the person I was sitting in that doctor's office, I was wringing my hands. I was almost shaking. I like could not like focus. I could not like to sit in a waiting room with other people. It was so scary to me. Like
Oh
just to
my.
drive there was a really difficult task just to drive to the doctor's office or to try to go to a store. A lot of times I'd go to the store and I'd leave before I got everything I needed because I just could not handle it. So he wanted me to go into a facility, and I was like, I'm not suicidal. I'm just, I, I don't want to go into a facility. And I promised that I would be okay.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that, I would definitely go to that first appointment and all of that. So I talked him out of actually, which is surprising. I talked him out of sending me someplace and started therapy, outpatient therapy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I want to mention something else that I was thinking about when you talked about the reason for writing the memoir.
Absolutely.
Another, yeah, another reason is I've got two adult children, and I thought if the suicidal thoughts one, if I wasn't going to make it out of this, I wanted them to kind of have the whole picture as to what happened. This was mom's life. This is what happened. This is what happened that got her to that point in life. And I wanted them to have that story. And then also, like my father died young. My mother now has the beginnings of dementia. And I don't have a whole lot of information about their childhood and their life and even young adult life and stuff. And I would like my kids, when I'm
Uh,
gone, to have it all written out, you know, because I would
oh, that's
love to have that with my
beautiful.
parents. Yeah.
Yeah, that's touching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you.
So how your children want to know this is your mom's story.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that'd be really cool. Like, I don't have grandchildren yet. I mean, I still may, but even like with nieces and nephews or their children, just like I'm going to be somebody's ancestor someday.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really cool, like if I had some ancestor, some great aunt or, you know, or even a great great grandmother or somebody from, you know, long ago. If I had a memoir of their whole life story,
Oh,
I
that
think
would be
that would be,
amazing.
yeah, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would be
so
so amazing to know this is what was going on during their time. This is what was going on in their life.
yeah,
I think that's amazing.
yeah. Okay, you want me to go on to the next one?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what advice do you have for blog readers who want to share their own trauma stories but are terrified of being judged? So what I wrote was, I would let them know that it can be incredibly healing to get it all out of you. Whether you write it out or talk about it like on podcasts, it helps. But to also know that it can help others to not feel so alone because so many have been through so much that they don't talk about and they feel so alone in their pain. So those that judge may not have had similar experiences and they just don't understand how it can feel for somebody. Or they have maybe and think that you should just keep things secret and not air dirty laundry or, you know, put your trauma out there for the public to see. But to keep in mind how helpful that it can be for those who are afraid to speak about it, and it may even save a life. So as you age, when you're younger, you might worry about being judged, but as you age, you don't care as much about what other people think. But also, if they're judging, that's just showing that they don't understand, and that's okay. Not everybody's going to understand. You know, you just have to know that it's something that's important to you and very helpful to you, and that's what matters most, even if others are going to judge it.
I love that. I love that because a lot of women don't want to report or don't report their abuse, they don't report what their trauma,
Right.
and they don't tell their story. And it can be so encouraging. It could be so helpful to hear someone else share
Yeah.
their story. And
Yeah.
they could feel open to sharing, this is what happened to me.
Yeah. And I think I answered this in other questions too, but I think that it helps to know that somebody made it out of that. It's not just a
Yeah.
story of trauma, of lifelong trauma. It's also a story of healing at the end, you know?
Yes, I love that point of view.
Yeah,
I
that's
love that
so
point.
important.
You don't look at yourself as someone who, I mean, yes, you've been a victim, yes, but you
Yeah.
also are a survivor. You're
Absolutely.
also a
Absolutely.
survivor. You made it through that point of your life where you
Yeah.
can say, I made it through that. I'm strong.
Yeah. And just knowing that somebody else did, that helps to know that you can too, you know, or it
Yeah,
helps you to see that maybe I can too, you know?
I love that.
Yeah,
Love
thanks. So the next one says, your life is a masterclass in starting over. What mindset shift is required to successfully reinvent yourself when everything feels broken? So before I answer this, this is my third book. So I'm writing my third book about reinventing myself. Um,
Wow.
yeah. Because the two books are, so the first book is like so much trauma and everything I've been through, and at the end is about healing. And the second book is just everything I've been through as a nurse. But this, I wanted to write a book that was focused more on the healing and the rebuilding. than all the trauma. So yeah. So
Definitely gonna put that in the description.
well, I don't
Look out
have
for your
I don't
third book.
it's not done yet. But and I don't have a title for that one yet either. But so I think that the mindset shift is just to have hope and to know it's possible. I guess what I was just talking about, that and to learn from the past and to have gratitude for everything positive in your life. So that's the mindset that you have to have as you're rebuilding, is not to focus on the trauma and not to focus on all the things that were bad, but to focus on, and even as you're if you're writing everything out that was, traumatic, focus on what's good now. Even if it's, like a lot of my childhood, I was hungry. We lived in poverty. We didn't have food to eat a lot of the time. So even just to be thankful for a meal, you don't have to be religious to give thanks for your meal,
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, every little thing. I mean, every little thing, really. I mean, if you have ever lived in poverty, you know that you're wearing your clothes until the last thread. You can't get a lot of the things that you even really need a lot of the time, let alone things you want. So every little thing, be thankful for that. And I think holding on to that gratitude helps you to, reach for more as you're going through your healing.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So let's see. What advice do you have for people who feel it's too late in life to make changes or achievements? So what I wrote was, making changes can be done as long as you have your mind and you have your breath. It's really never too late. It can start with just knowing that it's possible and, holding on to hope. You don't have to know how or where or how to achieve that big goal, but one small change or movement in the direction at the time was all it takes. You don't have to know, how am I going to get there from here? It's like at the
Right.
bottom of that hole, it's like, I don't know how I'm going to get up at the top. I just know that I want to. I'm just going to keep climbing one little step at a time. So it reminded me of that one quote: "You don't have to take the whole staircase at once. You just take it one day, one step at a time, right? You don't have to see the whole staircase, or you don't have to see, if you're driving somewhere, and you don't have to see the destination to drive there. You're just going 1 mile at a time, right?"
I love that.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Because like I think like a lot of people will be encouraged by that because you feel like, so it's like for me especially, like I know I'm a perfectionist, so I know I want to get to this route.
Right.
I want to plan everything and this is how I want to get there. This is where I want to go. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when things don't happen the way I want them to, I get so bent out of shape. I get so down. And like I think it's encouraging to know things take your time and you don't have to be perfect to get to your destination. You don't even have to
Right.
perfectly know your destination.
Right. Right.
I
And sometimes it can be, two steps forward and one step back, three steps
mm,
forward and two steps back, just inching your way up.
yes, I love that.
Yeah. I was in my 50s when I changed careers in my 50s. I took new classes and courses in my 50s. I started therapy as when I was 50. I started
Wow.
painting. I wrote my memoirs in my 50s. I'm 60 now. I'm writing a third memoir. And there's people that are much older that are famous people. You could easily look it up. What famous people didn't start until they were much older? There's plenty of them that we know of, that you've heard of, that didn't start until much later in life. So if you're feeling like you're too old, like I said, if you still have your mind about you and you're still breathing, you can make changes for the better.
Love that.
Yeah. Okay. How do unresolved childhood mental wounds subconsciously map out our adult relationships and mental health struggles? So, what I wrote was, we are learning to be adults throughout our whole childhood. So, if there is neglect or abuse or a lack of modeling or mentoring from healthy adults, then you're at a disadvantage. And you may not even realize how deep some of those struggles or those mental health issues you have are from that. You may not even realize that I'm having these mental health issues, but you might not even realize that it's from your whole childhood. I didn't, but and a lot of
Right.
people don't. You don't know
Right.
where it came from. Your subconscious mind holds on to all these things and often without you making that connection. But the bottom line to that question is it might be a better question for a mental health professional, you know, about how the unresolved childhood mental wounds subconsciously map out our adult relationships and mental health struggles. That would be a good question for a mental health professional. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
But yeah, though it goes so deep and people don't often realize how deep it can really go. Even simple things can that aren't so traumatic or so traumatizing, even simple things can be detected from way back in your childhood that you don't even make the connection. One thing, and I did make this connection, but one thing, so I have, even to this day, even though I've been through so much therapy and everything else, I have a lot of trouble. I don't cry at times that I should be crying. I don't, if I'm,
Oh.
I have trouble showing emotion. I'm very comfortable with other people's emotions, but not my own. And one thing that happened, so I had a sister that was killed in a car accident when she was
Oh
18.
no.
Yeah, she was 18 and I was 14. And when we were at the hospital, my mother's friend pointed right at me. She pointed right at me and she said, "Don't you cry. You
Oh
have to
wow.
be, yeah." She said, "You have to be strong for your mother. Don't you cry." So I'm
Wow.
just that I really internalized that. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna cry, you
Oh
know.
no. Oh my
So
goodness.
that still affects me to this day. So that's just one example of how that can happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes we don't, even as adults, we don't realize how our actions or what we say can really
Yeah.
affect the children.
Yeah.
And someone might say, "Well, that was a while ago,"
Yeah, that was
or
1980. Yeah.
"Yeah, or that was a while ago." So, but no, it still lasts with us even after years. So
Yeah.
it really can. Like someone might say, like I know, like for you that lasted all these years and it's something that really can affect you. I know for me, a lot of times growing up, I was bullied, and still as an
Mhm.
adult, that still sticks with me.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things still stick with us, and it shapes our actions, how we
Yeah.
react to things, how we interact with people, other people. It's
Yeah.
really it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Even things like people who have weight issues, and even though they might be
Mhm.
healthy and a healthy weight, and they still are obsessed with it, if they grew up with their mother being overweight and always talking about they can't eat this, they can't eat that, they used to say, watch your shape more than they
Yeah.
no, but
Mm.
or being like on always on Weight Watchers or always counting calories, or if their mother always did that, and that's the model that they saw as a woman that they looked up to, and then as a kid, even if they're healthy, they might still have that sort of obsession, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so things like that. It doesn't have to be something big and traumatic, but something, even things like that.
Yes.
Okay. You have been incredibly transparent about your past battle with deep depression and suicidal thoughts. What was the most critical mental shift that helped you move from a state of surviving to actively thriving? So, I think I touched on this earlier. So, it may sound cliche, but really gratitude. Moving from a state of surviving to actively thriving took a lot of steps, including that therapy. But having gratitude and just believing that it was possible has helped to continue to grow and evolve and thrive in life. And, to have a life that I now have, which is it's not anything grandiose or big or hugely successful or anything special, but to me it is because I didn't even know that it was possible to be this happy and to just love life as much as I do. I didn't even know it was possible.
Right.
So I think just having gratitude for it all and just recognizing, not taking things for granted, having that self-awareness that, oh my gosh, 5 years ago, I would not have believed this. 10 years ago, I would not have believed this. Just having gratitude and awareness for everything, everything good that happens.
Oh, wow. I love that answer so much.
Yeah.
I love that. It's something that I've been learning myself, gratitude, like paying more attention to things
Yeah.
that make me happy and just and paying attention to the small details, the little things,
Right.
and appreciating them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then when something, life just keeps happening and you're not always going to be in love with everything that happens in your life, no matter what, right? Because it's life and you don't live in your own little bubble. Things happen around you. And
Yeah.
so I think that if something happens and you're feeling anxious about it, you're feeling depressed about it, you're feeling confused or upset or mad or whatever, emotion that comes up, to have that awareness and think to yourself, why do I feel this way about this situation? What is this coming from? What is this doing to me? How much control do I have over this? And what am I learning from this? I think that's important too, to um, ask yourself, what am I learning from this terrible thing that's happening to me? Or
Right.
why did this happen? Look at it. Why did it happen? If something terrible is happening, because every move you make is a step towards the next move you make. So it's
I,
almost like what happened the last few days to make these next few days be so terrible? What happened back there? And just kind of really taking a look at it.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Absolutely. Taking accountability and sometimes figuring out how can we be in control a little bit. Sometimes we're not, I mean, a lot of times we're not always in control,
Right. And you can't
but
always be in control.
yeah, but sometimes there are things we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. What did I, that looking at how I can do certain things. And then sometimes it kind of reminds me of the serenity prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change and to change the things that I can and to
Yeah.
know the difference and the wisdom to
Right.
know the difference, you know? How
Right.
can I know which ones, accepting the things that I cannot change, changing the things that I can, and knowing which ones?
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then also, I mean, did I say yes to something that I really felt in my mind wasn't really right for me? Did I do something that I knew might not be right and then it made me crabby or it turned into something more terrible? Or, so I do house and pet sitting. So did I take a job that I kind of had bad feelings about, and then it turned into something more horrible? Or did it put me in a bad mood, which then made me make a bad decision later? So just even little things like that you can look back on yourself. Or did I not sleep good the night before and so I snapped back at my friend or my husband or whatever, and or a family member, and and then it turned into this bad argument or something, just looking back at how did this get here? I think that makes a big difference no matter if it's small or something
Love
big.
that. Love that.
Yeah.
It's like thinking about it's a perfect mental health type of strategy
Yeah.
because it helps you to think about how can I make my mental health better?
Mm-hmm.
Have I eaten breakfast this morning?
Right.
Did I
Right.
miss breakfast? Have I taken my medication?
Right.
Did I get enough sleep last night?
Yeah.
All of that is important to, why your day might be going poorly or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you want to not just sit there in the nastiness. You want to look back at where it
Yeah.
started, It's like
Yeah.
if you lose something, it's like I'm going to retrace my steps to see where I dropped it, It's kind of the same thing.
Exactly.
Okay, your famous turning point happened on a cross-country bus trip. If a reader feels mentally trapped right now but can't physically leave their life, how can they initiate a mental cross-country trip from home? So, honestly, I feel like my big turning point was in therapy, like I mentioned. But the bus ride was really that first step in not giving up. Once you're ready to end it all, nothing really scares you. You're just sort of numb at that point. But if someone reading this feels mentally trapped and can't physically make a big move like I did, reading stories like this will help your mind to get in the idea that it's possible and that to know that there is hope. And I think that's really huge. I myself had read several memoirs, as I mentioned, and this was while I was writing mine and even before I wrote mine. I was reading a bunch of stories, and I think just knowing that it's possible. And there's plenty of podcasts out there. One is the Life Shift podcast, but there's others out there where people talk about big shifts in their life, big changes in their life, and how they made it out of terrible situations. Surrounding yourself with those types of stories, whether it's podcasts or reading books or whatever, can really help change that mindset. And I think that once, when we feel stuck, we usually feel like we can't, like there's a door where it's a locked door. But I think, once you realize that it's possible to get out that door, maybe that lock isn't so tight, or, maybe you can open the door, but you don't know how to walk through yet. So just knowing that it's possible, just changing your mindset is a very first step, I think, in making that big life change and
I
getting
love.
out of the situation. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's beautiful. Beautiful answer. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people it's very difficult. It's very difficult to get out of a situation. A lot of people do feel stuck. So I think what you said is beautiful. It is a way, it does give hope.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing too that I find so many people are they're really attached to the place that they live, or
Yeah.
they have possessions that they feel attached to, and rightly so. But if you're at a place that you're going to end your life or you're thinking about it, then the things, the physical things in your life, the possessions that you have, if you don't make it out of that place of those suicidal thoughts, you're not going to have those possessions anyway. So, to be able to let go of some things, even if they're hard to let go of, to save your life, even if it's to save your life, then it's easier to leave than to leave physically than to leave your life. So if it's down to that kind of a thing, if it's down to my life, or I have to stay in this house because this is where I grew up and now it's my house, or I have to stay in this town because this is all I know in this city, is where I've always lived, or I've got all these, what would I do with all my stuff? I got all these possessions. But if it's your life or just taking off for a fresh start, you have to get real with yourself, I think, too.
I
Um,
oh wow. I
yeah.
absolutely love that.
Yeah,
I
I know
absolutely
people who are stuck because of their possessions, and it's so hard you can't really get through to people. So hopefully this helps a little bit. But it's like, I gave up so much. When I got on that bus, I had sold or gotten rid of everything I had. I even sold my car and I got the bus
wow.
ticket. And all I had, the only thing that I left behind was a box of memories that were like my kids' school memories, photos, things like that, that I couldn't bring on the bus with me. And I just had a handful of clothes. I had, just a few little things that just necessities that I brought with me. And later on, I was able to retrieve that box of the kid memories, so I still have those now. But
Oh,
I had a friend holding on to those to be able to ship them out later, or if I was going to come back, because when I left, they didn't know if I'd be coming back or not.
right.
So, you just have to really prioritize what's the most important thing that you need. What are necessities for your daily life compared to, my antique doll collection, for instance, or plants that I have, or a crystal collection, or, the furniture that, even if it's furniture you've had that was your grandmother's, or, pictures on the wall, or your paint set, or whatever it is. We've all got so much crap, that we love, but it's what we surround ourselves with, and we can't imagine just getting on a bus, or driving to wherever. But sometimes that's what it takes to make those huge, huge life shifts. Sometimes that's what it takes.
Wow. I absolutely love that. It kind of reminds me of, like, I think my dad told me a story one time about somebody who was in the desert, and instead of leaving behind, he had like a whole large, heavy, heavy bag of gold.
Mm,
And instead of leaving it behind, he stuck with it, and he ends up dying. And somebody
yeah,
passes by years, 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 and years later. Somebody passes by, like, oh, this is not even worth it. And so, it's like
yeah,
sometimes, like you said before, our life is more valuable. Another extreme
yeah.
case is like somebody's trying to, like my dad used to tell me, somebody tries to rob you outside.
Mhm.
If that ever happens, just give them whatever they want. Your
Yeah,
life is more valuable. We could always
exactly.
replace it, but we cannot replace you.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, is that bag of gold that's going to kill you to walk across the desert, is it worth dragging it with you if you're going to lose your life doing it? Because you don't
Yeah,
have any either way. You don't have it. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, good analogy there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love the metaphors and the analogies.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that was the last question that you had sent me.
Yeah, I think that's the last question. That was really wonderful. That was a really awesome conversation.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
I
Thank you.
loved it.
Thank you for
I think
inviting
that,
me.
oh, I didn't know that. It was a pleasure. Anything else you would
Um,
like to say?
I think that so if you have been through some trauma, and I've said a lot already that it's so important to hold on to that hope and to just know that it's possible and to live with gratitude. So those are things that I have really said a lot during this whole time. But if you're somebody who has never told anybody, never shared your story, it can be really difficult at first. And that's okay. It's okay if it's difficult. It's going to be healing because inside of you. If you have some trauma inside of you, it's going to feel like something, a ball of something stuck in there. Like if you have stomach issues, if you have throat issues, which is really like a lot of times a sign of not being able to say what you want or not being able to get it out. So if
Right.
you have throat issues, if you have stomach issues, a knot in your stomach, a knot in your throat, that's because all this stuff is stuck inside of you.
Mm,
Once you start
absolutely.
getting it out, and the more that you talk about it or the more that you write about it, the easier it becomes. And that's a huge part of healing, even without therapy. I do suggest therapy. Of course, it saved my life, but that's a first step as well, being able to get it out of you. They talk about sweeping things under the rug. Well, you can sweep so much under there that it becomes a big lump that you always trip over. So being able to get,
Yeah,
like I said, I love the analogies, right? So
love it.
so being able to get rid of some of that stuff little by little, and yes, it's hard at first, but it'll make that lump go down. It'll clear up your stomach issues and your throat issues. I promise you it will. So yeah, get it out. Get it out of you. If you've never talked about it, if you've never written about it, you don't have to publish it. Just write it out. Get it out of your body and down somewhere else. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I think this is going to be so encouraging to the readers and
I hope
listeners.
so. That's the goal, is to encourage
Yeah.
others. Yeah, thank you for
Oh
all
my
that you're doing and getting these
God.
out there and getting this information out there. Yeah,
Thank you.
so important. Yeah.
I think that was a beautiful answer. Yes. I love that analogy, sweeping things under the rug.
Yeah. And
Like,
then lump can get so high that you're always tripping over it.
yes.
So, yeah.
And there is definitely a connection between your physical health
Yeah.
and your mental health. And when you feel like your mental health, and when your mental health is not good, it could start showing signs in your
Yeah.
physical health, like you said, like your stomach could have
Hmm.
stomach issues, you can have throat issues. It can be those are definitely signs.
Yeah, yeah. And remember when I said that when I first went to therapy before I went, I was like, what am I going to say to the therapist? Like I didn't know what I was going to say. And so if some people are feeling that way, just know that that's the therapist's job. They will ask you questions and they will ask you about things. It's their job to figure out what they need to know, however you're feeling, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, or both, or having nightmares, or whatever it is, or trauma that you feel like is holding you back. I mean, if you've had trauma and you haven't been through any kind of therapy or healing in any way, it's going to be holding you back, whether you realize it or not. So if you've been through some trauma and you've never processed through it in any way at all, I really highly suggest some sort of therapy. And it takes patience and diligence a lot of times to find the right type of therapy or the right therapist for you, because not everything works for everybody. So you want to
Mhm.
find what's right for you. But don't hesitate because you don't think you know what you're going to say, because that's their job to know what they need to ask you what they need to know to be able to help you. So
Exactly. Love that.
yeah.
Love that. And don't be afraid to open up to the therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important.
Very, very. Yeah. How are you gonna? Yeah, we probably both have heard of people that go to therapy and they're like, oh, I didn't tell my therapist this, or I was afraid to tell my therapist that, or, I
Yes.
went to counseling, but I didn't share the whole story. It's like, well, how can you expect them to help you if you don't share the whole thing? They've heard it before. You're not going
Yeah.
to shock them. They went to school for this, this is their specialty.
Exactly.
So yeah, you're not going to surprise them. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It kind of reminds me of when you said earlier that the doctor actually wanted to put you in the hospital
Yeah.
and the doctor listened to you. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people are scared that, yeah, if I tell my doctor this or that, they're gonna institutionalize me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I'm
And
surprised thinking back. I'm surprised that I was able to talk him out of it. Because yeah, usually once they make up that mind, they do.
yeah.
But it's not the worst thing, because had I went into a facility at that time, I would have gotten therapy the next day. But as it was, I had to wait like 2, 3 months to get
Oh,
into an appointment
wow.
for outpatient therapy, because that's a real hurdle as well, is
Yes,
having to
that's
wait
another
to
big,
get your appointment. But if you go into a facility, you're gonna see somebody within 24 hours. Yeah.
yeah, that is another big, big issue
Yeah.
that definitely I wish we could have discussed too, the wait time. The wait.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why too. I mean, we briefly talked about my podcast, Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners, and that's one of the reasons is so that people can know all their options, because a lot of alternative therapies can work in the meantime or can work along with regular types of therapy, more typical types of therapy. So a lot of these different practitioners are not just physical stuff. A lot of it is for mental stuff, or even spiritual stuff, or just helping you to understand yourself better, like on a self-discovery journey or a healing journey, or even, like I said, like a spiritual journey. A lot of these
Yeah,
different types of more holistic practitioners can help with that. So
beautiful.
yeah, so think outside of the box a little bit sometimes if you're having trouble with getting in right away.
Yes, that's very important. That's very
Yeah.
important. That was so beautiful. That's
So glad.
such beautiful information.
I'm so glad. Yeah, thank you.
I
You're
really
so welcome.
appreciate it.